Hey there, ImPowered Global TV family, and you are watching ImPowered Global TV series, She Speaks Up Until Justice Wakes Up. You know, we've been covering some very delicate issues over the series over the past few weeks of Speaking Up Until Justice Wakes Up, which is truly dedicated to my father's tragic passing. We've covered politics, we've covered straight up violence when it comes to speaking up until justice wakes up, and now we're going to get into the economic side of this discussion, the equality and equity of justice waking up, which is very, very necessary to converse about. We simply don't talk much about how to incorporate equality and equity to achieve justice in our local communities, in education, transportation, real estate, and the list goes on and on. And guess what? What does it really mean? So, we have a very special guest today who will break it down for us, and his name is Nathaniel Smith. He serves as the founder and chief equity officer of the Partnership for Southern Equity, which advances policies and institutional actions that promote racial equality, racial equity, and shared prosperity for everyone in the growth of metropolitan Atlanta and the American South, right here on ImPowered Global TV Network. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back, ImPowered Mission TV family. We're so happy you are joining us today. We are with Nathaniel Smith, our amazing guest that we're going to conversalute today. He is the founder and chief executive officer of Partnership for Southern Equity right here in Atlanta, Georgia. And so we're excited to have you here.
So good to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. I mean, you know what? We've been trying to have this conversation for a while.
Yes,
the
good things come to those who wait. I've definitely looked forward to this conversation.
I love it.
Yeah.
Conversolution, my brother. We got a lot to talk about because our viewers have asked so many questions that they want me to ask you, okay? You know what? And listen, I'm excited because I'm going to learn a lot. We're hearing it straight from you and your team, obviously. You have a really good team out here.
Yes, I'm blessed to have a great village, I call them, of leaders who have chosen to work with me to advance racial justice, so it's always a good thing.
It's always a good thing, especially in the wake or woke, if you will, of what's going on. And that brings us to what our title is, which is Speak Up Until Justice Wakes Up. Okay, and so none other than a better time to be talking about speaking up, and you and your team, you're not just talking about it.
Right.
Y'all are doing it. You're doing it. And so I'm going to dive right in because, you know, well, actually, I do have one question before I dive right in. So how is this journey of life treating you with all this stuff that's going on right now?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, it's definitely a moment that I prepared for.
Okay.
I think, you know, when you spend your whole life preparing for that moment.
Yes.
And that moment comes.
Yeah.
Then of course you're excited and ready to implement the various things that you've learned on your journey.
Wow.
With that being said, I will say that it has definitely been also a great deal of pressure on leaders who have continuously been, you know, whether you want to use the boy that cried wolf analogy or Paul Revere. I mean, there have been people that have been yelling this injustice or the challenges that we face for a long time in the United States and in the South. And now all of a sudden we're having this come to Jesus moment. And so, here. And so now everybody is turning towards me and other organizations like the Partnership for Southern Equity. And it's a great deal of demand on our time. And we're just trying to do the best we can with this moment.
Well, you all have done so much, and we want to talk about that too. I mean, and you know what? At least, like you said, you were already prepared. you've got all the knowledge, and now you've got to be wise about applying that. And not only that for you and your team, but educating us on what to do.
It's very important, very important.
Because it takes a village in just that. It does. Wow. So a little backwards in my question, but we're going to dive right into the definition of your movement.
Yes.
Right? Because a lot of our viewers are saying, okay, tell me about equity, equality, harmony, parity, all that stuff we were just talking about. Tell us about this. What does it mean to me as a melanated individual or as a non-melanated individual who wants to support the cause? So can you give us kind of like a really keep it simple kind of, if it is simple, kind of way to understand what the whole Partnership for Southern Equity movement is all about?
Right. So, a lot of our work is really focused on what we call realizing a new Southern agenda for equity, for racial equity specifically, and shared prosperity in the American South. And what does that mean? Well, we know that historically in the South and in America, that the economy and other aspects of our community have been built on two things, unfortunately, and that has been stolen labor and stolen land.
Come on now.
And primarily that stolen land has come from indigenous people, and that stolen labor has come from African people. And when you have an economy and a system, that has been built on what we call extreme extraction, we have to begin the process of attacking those systems of injustice. And so when we talk about equity, we're talking about basically just and fair inclusion, It's about creating a society where all people can participate and prosper. Well, it's difficult for all people to participate and prosper in the society when you have a hierarchy of value based on the color of one's skin, and the top of that pyramid, the most valuable, is someone who is white. And that is basically racism.
It is.
So we
in
have
the purest
to
sense.
And so when racism continues to manifest itself in many different ways in our society, whether it be law enforcement, our economy, even in terms of our environment, education, issues around housing affordability. And so for us, it's not just about making sure that we have equality, Because equality, as we discussed earlier, is about parity. It's about giving someone the same size shoe. Versus giving someone the size shoe that they can wear. If I gave you a size 10 and you wear a size 5, then that shoe is too big for you, but that is equality, because we have the same size shoe.
Or we have a shoe.
But you need a shoe that is your size, and that is what the equity movement is about. It's about making sure that the color of your skin does not minimize your opportunity to reach your full potential.
Wow, that's deep. I mean, because a lot of us don't look at it like that, We say, okay, in this school right here that's 2 miles away from this other school, we're going to make sure both schools have a Chromebook, if you will, okay? But the kids at this school might not have access to Wi-Fi at home.
That's right. And if I may, one of the other things that I always try my best to elevate in this conversation is that the greatest difference between equity and equality is history, So equality does not utilize history as a way to understand what a community is in need of, So if you, not too far from here, there are communities that have been besieged by things like redlining, Issues associated with our financial system, making a decision not to apply capital in those communities, and as a result of that, those communities have been starved and have been forgotten by our economic system. You have children who are living in communities where it's easier to buy a honey bun than a head of lettuce, You also have an educational system, that is primarily funded by real estate taxes, But if you live in a depressed community, how does that affect the ability for that school to receive the funds that they need in order to teach our children? So history. is a key component, and we have to understand that as we continue to move forward. And so that is why, unfortunately, people who are opponents of the equity agenda always say, well, let's not go backwards, let's continue to move forwards. Well, of course they want to do that when we have a society that has been totally and completely built on white supremacy.
Right.
And in many communities where you had areas that were thriving, that were majority African Americans, there were many efforts that were used through public policy and other decisions that stripped those communities of the resources they need in order to be resilient and strong. So it's about doing this work and ensuring that we're all connected, that people understand that, and in order for our region or a nation to move forward, we have to work to ensure that all people can participate and prosper.
And see, you just gave us really a quick, I won't say easy, but a quick synopsis of what your movement is all about. And it gave us the history, you gave us a high definition of like you said, parity, right? You gave us real life examples of what's happening right now. This is not something we heard about, we know it's happening, right? So I do want to ask you, like, what, you know, how can someone like me get involved to help you with the movement? What can we do, either from a family perspective, and we're going to answer this after the break, because that's going to be a good answer. What can we do from a family perspective in our respective homes? What can I do as a parent when I go visit the schools? Okay, what can I do as it relates to voting? What can I do as it relates to working with your organization as a volunteer and all that type of information? So family, great conversation with Nathaniel Smith. And I'm going to tell you again, 28 minutes and 30 seconds is not enough to get all what we need to get from him. But we're going to do our very level set best. We'll be back in a few minutes for him to answer that question of how we can really help this movement. And he's also going to give us a lot more information. So go get a sip of something and come on back. And we'll see you in a minute.
Now to growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus officially hitting the U.S.
Cannot breathe. And for minutes that goes on where he said that he cannot breathe.
Feeling good inside. Ask me why. It ain't no surprise. We got the tea. Good for you and me. Kings and queens. Check out Ebony. Cancer, diabetes, STDs, and infertility. Endometriosis, vaginosis, weight loss, and fatigue. It's what we do. It's made for me and you. It's that rejuvenating feeling. Gotta come and get your healing. Get your healing. Ebony.
Welcome back. I'm ImPowered Mission TV family. She speaks up until justice wakes up. Thank you so much for coming on back. We've got Nathaniel Smith here with us from Partnership for Southern Equity. And so we've got a few more questions to ask. And, you know, he's giving us a wealth of knowledge that I just pray that we all use it wisely to continue to make changes in our community. And before we went on the break, we had a question about what can we do? What can we do from mama and them like me, you know, at the schools, in the church, at the dinner table, voting, all that. What would you say if you were telling me what could I do to make an immediate difference to help with this movement?
Well, I think one of the most immediate opportunities, I believe, is to encourage as many people as possible to participate in the census. The census is a very important opportunity for us to not only be counted, but the census also influences how resources are distributed from a governmental perspective. So we need to get as many black folks as possible, as many loved ones as possible involved in the census.
Wow.
So that's an immediate piece. But I
gotta say this before you go to the but also, y'all stop running from the census, people. Okay, this is real talk. I mean, if that's, and I take this from you because you're in this movement. I mean, you're deep in this movement, so you know it. So we've got to take the time you know, whether we do it with the census agent, right?
Yes.
Or we go online, is what I hear you saying.
And I did it online. I mean, there are the you know, whether it be congressional districts or how
Okay.
many congressmen a particular state may have, or senators, to the how resources will be allocated for federal funding.
Okay,
A lot of
okay.
that is influenced by the census,
Wow.
and when we don't allow ourselves to be counted, or we're undercounted, we are basically leaving money on the table for the communities that need it the most.
Wow.
So
Okay.
the census is an
Number
immediate
one.
key thing
Okay.
that we can do. Second, of course, is voting. We
Right.
have some very important elections that are coming up, and not just on the presidential level, but there are key elections from a senator level or a congressional level that all folks, or local level. One race in particular in Georgia is the Public Service Commission, and I'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
But again, this is a commission of elected officials that influence your utility rates
Right,
with,
okay.
with the energy companies and other key rates. And a lot of times they're hidden in plain sight. And so it is majority white commission
Okay.
without any real diversity
Real
of thought. And the way that that is usually done is because it is a statewide election, which suppresses the vote of the African American community. And so again, we must engage down the ballot, and not just up the ballot, but down the ballot, because the local elections are just as important as the national elections. And you know, I think that's really important. And then I think the third thing, which is something that is not necessarily unique to Atlanta, but I think we have a very unique strain of a segment of our Black community.
Okay.
That although they are 1 or 2 paychecks away from the people that they look down at in our communities, are not connected in any way to the people in our communities that may not be as affluent or as well-heeled as we are. I mean, our strength has come from unity, not from us looking at one segment of our community as beneath us. The class divide in our community is one of the most critical challenges that we have to work hard to undo.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it takes all of us to participate and involve and get involved in order for us to get to liberation. And without all of us, we won't get there.
Wow. That is deep. That is really deep. Like you said, you said it very clearly. I love it. You said census. We think of this stuff as like basic, right? But this is real talk. Census, you said vote, and then you said unify. And in these times that we have going on right now, we should really be unifying. You know, that's something that seems so basic that we're so far away from. So I'm so glad you said that. I mean, sometimes you got to tell people, you know, put on. You always say you got to put on deodorant, or you're gonna stink.
It's census, you know, suppression, you know, because we know that there are many elements of our communities that are trying to suppress our vote, and solidarity. I mean, we've got to find a way to work together again, and I think that has been a real challenge for our community.
Again, you said it again, because we did before.
Yep.
In a major way.
Yep. During segregation, we had no choice.
Right. And you know what? Right now, we really don't have a choice.
Right.
If we're going to move forward in this movement, I really admire what you all are doing, what you and your team are doing. You know, and this is for Metro Atlanta and the greater Southeast Atlanta and the greater Southeast as a whole.
Yes, as a whole.
Wow. So do you have plans for this movement to happen in other areas?
You mean in other areas around the South?
Yeah.
Yep. So
or outside the South.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, I have had an opportunity to speak a great deal in other places around the world, really, about this work. And so the connections that I have, of course, go beyond the South.
Okay.
But my deep passion is really here. It's situated in the South. And I'm a deep believer that so goes the South, so goes the nation. That if we're able to change the South, because this is where
This
the
is
original sin
yeah.
began in 1619.
Wow.
If we can exorcise the South from the demons of white supremacy and slavery and the byproducts of that, then the nation will be healed. But until we deal with it here, we won't be able to move forward.
Until we deal with it here, we will not be able to move forward. And you know what? You know, we're sisters and brothers from another mother, okay? And I'm telling you, we're native Atlantans, so I hear you. That's one thing that we have in common. And you're right, we have to shut it down here first. Awesome.
That's right.
Love it.
That's right.
We'll be back in a few minutes, family. We'll be right back. Hey y'all, welcome back. Welcome back to ImPowered Mission TV. She speaks up until justice wakes up. We are here with Nathaniel Smith from Partnership for Southern Equity, and we've been having a great conversation, right? Very detailed, y'all. This should make you want to go do some more research. If you want to see change, do some more research, and I want you to be able to reach out to Nathaniel Smith's movement with Partnership for Southern Equity. And how can they get in contact with you? What's your website address, all that?
So the website address is psequity.org, www.psequity.org, and you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. We're available through social media as well.
Awesome, awesome. And do you facilitate workshops or, paid sessions where individuals can come and learn more about this movement as a whole?
Yeah, well, they can actually participate for free. We have 4 leadership development programs.
Awesome.
So a part of our work is really around growing the agency of community to be empowered to act. And so right now we're actually taking applications for our regional leadership program called the Resident Leaders for Equity program. You can go and sign up for it. It's a competitive process. We also have leadership programs that go from talking about the energy issues that we face called the Just Energy Academy and how that pertains
Okay.
to structural racism, to the history of race and growth and development, which our Transformation Academy discusses. And then we also have a leadership program just to train people on how to be a community organizer, and that's the Organizing for Equity program. So we
Sign me up.
have many leadership programs, and they're all free.
Awesome.
They're all free. Some of them are competitive, but they're all free.
All free. You heard it right here. They are all free. So make sure you visit the website that you heard earlier. If you didn't get it, just hit rewind. That's the awesome thing about technology. And you can get the information. Sounds like a wealth of information to be
Yes.
able to help us forward this movement. I have one last question, and we have like 1 minute. So what do you think the future would look like economically if equity is not treated equally?
Well, I think one of the things that would happen is that a person's zip code would not dictate their economic success. And right now, you can find out more about a person's ability to be successful in this economy by what zip code they live in, and not necessarily the dreams that they have in their hearts. So zip code should not be a determiner of success, as well as the melanin in your skin should not be a determinant of your success.
Wow.
And so that is what it would take.
Wow. You know what? This is where I need an organ or something, like something to just play some music. I mean, this is like such, relevant information for us as a culture. And it's so very little spoken about, that I see, right? And maybe I'm in a bubble somewhere.
Right.
Like a lot of viewers that I've talked to, they've said, we're in a bubble. We don't even know what this is. And so that's why we want to have you back.
Thank you.
Because we need to hear this. Your sister, your brother, your auntie, your cousin, your coworker, all of us melanated individuals need to hear about this movement. We need to learn about it, and we need to act upon it. And so we're going to ask you to please join us in a few weeks. You'll see us on live as well. We'll have an opportunity to talk more to Nathaniel Smith and his team. And then if you have any questions, just dive into their website, do some research, and join into these amazing free programs that he has to better this movement. Nathaniel, we thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to talking with you all soon. Be blessed, family.